the zoning happens, then I would say, what I would like to say on the record is that at whatever time we get ready to go to construction, we would match whatever the school board's current plan is at that
As
time.
long as they have a plan.
Correct.
If they have a plan and you're ready, if they don't have a plan, you're ready to go, you gotta wait on them?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think would be fair. I think that they have a plan today. So they may, that plan may change
Right.
at some point, but at the time that we get ready to go for permitting and construction, I would say that we will match whatever their current plan at that time is.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be real brief. I don't have any questions for the current project,
Okay.
but I just want for clarification, and council may can help me with this, I'm not sure, somebody else or somebody that are experts. It's currently zoned R2, so what is the, because I don't know, what is the required frontage feet across the front for R2?
85 feet.
Is it 85, please?
And then the whole property is right now zoned R2, correct? So what is the current, for R2, what's the current setback from the highway on R2?
35 feet.
Okay. And then on the backside, is there a regulation for R2
35 feet.
from the existing homes or
35.
whatever it is?
Well,
Okay.
from property lines.
From property lines, okay.
Wait, she didn't give that.
35 feet.
Setback, front and rear.
And so, and then the other question I have, the way it's zoned right now, currently somebody could come in there and build homes that meet our, what's the minimum square footage for an R2 home?
1,300.
First floor, second floor,
Doesn't
total?
matter. Doesn't matter. 1,300.
So right now, under R2, somebody can come in there and build homes on this lot without any of our input, that if it meets the R2 zoning, which would be 85 feet across the front, 35-foot setback off Highway 11, or 35 feet from the back. That's
Excuse me,
this question.
Just one thing that I will interject into that is the property would have to be subdivided.
Be subdivided
Lot.
to how many ever they did, right.
But subdivision, I mean, and Council President, in all fairness, that, first of all, subdivision does not come to pass.
Right.
And second of all, subdivision is not a discretionary matter. Now, I mean, you've got to comply with subdivision regulations, but there's not a lot of wiggle room in there. That's correct. If a plan were presented for R2 to be subdivided that way, then barring something, big that didn't comply, planning and zoning would be obligated to approve that. That's correct.
Okay, and again, mine was strictly just questions. I just wanted to make sure I understand where we are now versus where we're trying to, where the proposal is. That's it for me.
Okay. Any other questions from the council before we move to the public?
Yes, I want to follow up with what Councilman Taylor said, if I can ask Councilman Taylor. All right,
I don't
and,
know the answer.
with the architectural plan that has been presented tonight, with the architectural, I mean, I'm talking about for the homes, for the architectural plan. There would also be no requirement for an architectural plan to just subdivide the lots into R2. There's no requirement for that.
I don't know the answer. I'm assuming that's correct.
City clerk? Right? Okay.
As long as it met our current ordinance. Is that correct, Council? Is that-
Yeah, you know, as,
No, go ahead.
in subdivisions, as long as you present a plan that meets the subdivision regulations, there's got to be some compelling reason that plan does not get approved. You know, it might be something based on drainage or some site condition, but as long as you meet those regs, you're pretty much, going to get approved.
That's all from the Council President. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. All right, anything else?
Not this time.
Okay, you may be excused.
Thank you.
Councilman Flynn needs to be excused for a moment, so we will.
It's an early stage.
If it's okay with you, Councilman Plant, that we go ahead and start the public?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Again, the public hearing is already open, and I will at this time extend a courtesy again to the two ladies who have signed in, Kimberly Andre, okay?
Okay, my name is Kimberly Andre. I live at 109 Dew Drive. I'm opposed to the rezoning and proposed development of the land behind Dew Gardens subdivision for the following reasons. A gas station convenience store is not needed in this area. We already have 2 on Highway 11 that are easily accessible, and both are less than a mile away. Winn-Dixie is conveniently located across the street to meet a variety of needs. Residents of the new homes and Dew Gardens will have to contend with the side effects of a gas station, the smell of gas fumes, and the stench of garbage and dumpsters behind the businesses there. Commercial development. Trussville has over 100 commercial spaces available for rent or purchase. 2 can be found at the Calumet entrance. These should be filled or repurposed first. There is not a current need for more buildings on Highway 11. Traffic. Traffic is already a huge concern for Trussville residents. Shoving 40 homes in this area will exacerbate the situation. Synchronized lights may help a little, but is the proposed development the best solution for obtaining traffic lights that communicate with each other? How else can this be accomplished? Speeding is already prevalent in our neighborhood by people who cut through to avoid the speed bumps on Highland Avenue. How many more cars will be attempting this? Schools and housing. Cahaba Elementary exceeded its capacity within its first 2 years of existence. Yes, it is being added on to, but adding 40 to 80 kids, 1 to 2 per household, plus the housing already available in the area, means another expansion is in Cahaba's future. They may have to add a second story or lose their playgrounds for more classrooms. The environment. This area may be a retention pond drainage area. Will there be toxic runoff when it rains? Where will all the water go? Trees will no longer provide shade for my yard, homes to animals, soak up rainwater, or provide oxygen. What will buffer the noise from Highway 11 and block the lights from Winn-Dixie? How long will the bright lights of the gas station operate each night? Solution. There is not a current need for this development in the designated area. There might be a need further down Highway 11. Payne Elementary has the extra building to account for an increase in student enrollment. They would also need to add more teachers. There is 1 gas station available by Publix. An appealingly designed gas station may be welcome there. Garden homes may work there too, or they may not be required. We are presented with an opportunity to develop the land across from Winn-Dixie. However, we must consider if this is the best way, the needed way, to use this land. Right now, I say no. Let's keep our gateway to Trussville green while other options are considered. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to ask one thing, just to be considerate of everybody's time. We are going to kind of have I hate to do this and say a timer on you, but we're going to have a timer on you. And we would ask that you you did a good job, keep your comments concise, to the point. I'm also going to ask, I understand that everybody is all into this, and they're all pumped up and emotional, but let's don't have cheering on, and if you have something new to say, that's what we really like to hear. I understand that everybody might want to follow the same path. You can limit your comments on those particular things by saying, I agree. So, with that, we will go to Shana.
Yes, Shannon. I'm Shannon McGee. I live at 523 Burke Street.
That's gonna be right behind where I live. And I have really a petition, I agree with everything she said, and I have a petition, and the consensus is that people just don't want more stuff. Even though it's the same, like he said, it does kind of follow along, but we're kind of tired of that follow along. We kind of want to walk to things, and you are doing an amazing job downtown, that whole redevelopment, I think that's amazing. And that's kind of what we need to keep going with. And putting another gas station, I mean, you can put all kind of brick on it, but it's still a gas station. And so I really think that the main thing is we need to have the life between buildings and help that. The traffic, if you've ever pulled out of Winn-Dixie, it is atrocious. And putting another light there is not gonna solve the problem. So I think I know that our hands are tied, that this property is gonna get sold. But to hold off right now would be amazing. And to go to grants of the land grant and things like this. Because yes, my kids do go behind there, but we don't need a carbon footprint. I agree with the little 5 foot little sidewalk in between two fences. We don't need that. They need the trees to climb on as well. So, I mean, that's mainly it. I appreciate your time and everything, but it is. I really vote no.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else here to speak for or against this rezoning? Yes, ma'am. If you would, again, come to the microphone. Please be considerate.
Oh, I'll try. I'm Jean Cox from 418 Linden Street.
This is not directly in my backyard, but like plenty of other people that live in the downtown area, this would affect our family tremendously. For a couple of reasons, and I'll be really short. First off, we have a very dangerous situation in downtown. Most of y'all know Linden Street is the cut-through street. Everybody uses it for a cut-through street. People that would live in this new development would more than likely cut through like everybody else to get home. Nobody likes sitting on Highway 11. It's no fun. Everybody comes living past our house. Now, Councilman Taylor, you saw me a couple of months ago at the Public Safety Committee meeting asking for speed bumps. We're still waiting for those speed bumps. I'm scared to death for my babies to play in our front yard because people zoom down our road. And the more dense commercial stuff that gets packed on Highway 11, the more and more traffic we're seeing coming down our roads. Our kids can't walk down the sidewalk. We don't have sidewalks. Our kids can't ride their bikes safely down the road. And y'all, there's a bunch of kids that live downtown. There's townhomes down the street from us, and there are bukus of kids down there, and I see these kids riding their bikes in the road, and it scares me to death. We need some serious improvements to our infrastructure in the downtown area. And we're really excited about a lot of the plans that you guys have rolling. We see our city leaders doing some really great things, and we're happy about that. But until we have improvements to our infrastructure, I feel like bringing more dense development into this area is just irresponsible. Please don't make an already dangerous situation worse for the kids that live downtown. Another quick thing that I want to point out. You have a lot of people that are talking about we need to save the green space, we need to save the trees, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm definitely a tree hugger. But I would like to point out specifically how this development plan goes against our city tree plan and ordinance. So our tree plan ordinance, section 3, says all subdivisions and land developers are encouraged to preserve as many healthy trees and shrubs on the site as possible. When practical, special care is encouraged to preserve trees that are particularly impressive and epitomize the character of the species, as their size and beauty require many years to accomplish, and their aesthetic quality cannot easily be replaced. The trees on the north end of this property are without a doubt the tallest trees in the downtown area. They are a good 15 to 20 foot taller than any other trees on Highway 11 downtown. Now, yes, the property owner has all the rights to do what they want to do with their property. However, they have the right to do it, they want to do their property zoned the way it is. If this zoning is approved, the developers made it very clear this land will be completely graded. We have been told that none of the mature trees will be saved. So we're going to be dealing with massive sedimentation and massive runoff during this development and no trees being saved. So please think of that, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I believe you had your hand up first.
I'll wait 1 second, this is going all right for me. I'm Dennis Glass, I live at 221 Calumet Place. I didn't get your address.
Just moved there, I have to think for a minute. 674 Chris Court,
Where's that?
Trussville, Alabama.
Okay.
35173.
Excellent. A couple of points. I rise to oppose development of green space. Highway 11's already got awful traffic. I haven't heard of a decent plan to fix it yet. Do y'all have one? What is it?
Matt Mayor can address that at the end if you wanna talk about some of our plans.
I think it's important.
No, it ain't.
Now,
You ain't kidding.
like I said, I've got all night.
Mr. Glass, I will encourage you to, if there are things that you need to say
Well, I think
new.
traffic is a problem, and we need to understand what a solution is. Highway 11 was once a beautiful place to drive. I've been driving out here for, I guess, 50 years. It was beautiful, it's not. It's beginning to look like Highway 31 in Hoover. I don't think that's what anybody here wants, but that's what it's beginning to look like. So I'm hoping that you'll stop that. Your grandparents speak of need for green space, keep getting it down. You're talking about the great way they did the thing in front of Calumet. You know the space between Calumet Garden Homes and the fence behind the restaurant? You can't push a lawnmower through that space. Can't be done. If you must rezone, we have more restricted zones, maybe a C1, is that the most restricted commercial? What is it?
Preferred commercial.
Okay, preferred commercial. Maybe we could live with it, because we don't want the gas station, we don't want lights, we don't want the fry cooks and other things that are going on with restaurants and other fitness centers and other things. Just make it professional office buildings, we need it. And we don't need any more dollar stores or any of those kind of things. The last question, I don't understand the motion y'all took at the front of the beginning of your motion, because you wrote it down, and I hope you did have a good answer. I don't understand that motion. Does that mean we need to come back here in 2 weeks?
That is correct. We will honor the request for this to be the first reading on a 3-2 vote, so that this is a first reading of the ordinance. That is
To
correct.
express our no in a continuing fashion, we would all need to come back.
We will not have a public hearing at the next meeting. This is the public hearing that we will hold for this ordinance.
You understand. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Mr. Riker. If you do want to speak, you might just make your way around this way, and that might even speed things along better. Thank you, Mr. Riker.
Sir, my name's Arnold Riker. I live at 116 North Mall, not in the neighborhood. But we love that area. That's a beautiful area. There's a lot of great things in Trussville. We have great homes, we got great churches, great schools. We all enjoy Trussville, we love it. But we don't have some things that major cities have, like Hoover, Homewood. We don't have a botanical garden. We need one real bad. My wife is an artist, so I'm kind of biased, but we also need gallery space where people that are artists in our city can show. And I really love it if our city could retain that property. And I know this is another kind of request, but if we could plant trees there and have a special place where people could come to our city and see a real botanical garden, not just a green space, but a botanical garden where you could show off different species of trees and all that. And if the Board of Education is planning to move that way, that would be a beautiful front for them. But we need a botanical garden, and we need the art gallery space in Trussville. We have no gallery space. And like you have seen, our churches are sponsoring gallery spaces in their facility so that our resident artists can do some work and show it to our public. But wouldn't this be a great chance, like Aldridge Gardens in Hoover, if we could have a place like that right across the street? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Anderson, if you would, I believe you were next. And again, it seems to be working well. If you do have something you'd like to say, you just move on around to this side of the room. We'll just get you on up to the podium. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Anderson. I live at 4289 Lexi Circle, and I disagree with the zoning. But I wanted to thank you guys. I know it's really hard to be a councilman. Every decision you make is hated by someone. So it's really difficult. And this is one of those times, because on the outset it seems like it's an easy decision, but it is a very complex issue. So I would like to bring up that I don't think, something that's not been said is that planning and zoning, unless it's been said, I'm sorry, I missed it. Planning and zoning actually recommended to disapprove this request. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing is that this land currently belongs to the estate of Dr. Frances Dew Hamilton. She has one heir, Chuck Hamilton. Chuck and Wendy, it turns out, as I started falling down this rabbit hole, and let me tell you, I got involved, I serve on the Park and Rec Board, and I was contacted by a citizen asking me if this land would make a good park. Turns out it would not make a good park, but I did look into that. And then I started looking into who owned it. So I came across the fact that Wendy and Chuck were stationed with my husband Keith and I when we were at Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi. I'm still in the Air Force, Keith is not, but Chuck Hamilton retired as a colonel. So I picked up the phone and called Wendy about 2 weeks ago and asked her if they knew about this development and if they were aware of what was going on with the vote and the zoning. And I let her know that there were a lot of citizens in Trussville that were concerned about this rezoning request. To be honest, her response to me was, hey, I'm not sure. Chuck kind of handles all that. But we are supposed to consider every reasonable request. So on the outset, I can tell you that the Hamiltons deserve to get the money that they want for this land. This is Dr. Francis's estate, Dr. Hamilton's estate. But at the same time, if you're like me and you grew up in Trussville, and I did, I grew up on Glen Avenue, I don't know how many times that I have been on that land. I mean, I cannot count how many times I've walked through there growing up. It's just a beautiful piece of property. And it's special. I think there's a real argument to be made that this is a special piece of property. This is not like any other piece of property in Trussville. It is on our main street, and we only have one main street. So there'll be other pieces of land and opportunity to develop other commercial and other garden homes. But there will never be another undeveloped 16-acre piece of property on Main Street. And that's what I'd like you to consider. Please deny this zoning request as planning and zoning recommended. And let's really put our heads together and think, how can we honor Dr. Hamilton's wishes for this land and at the same time really make something special that everyone in Trussville can appreciate, whatever that looks like. And I know that's next steps. But thank you again for serving. I know that it's really tough. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Next, okay, wait. Yeah, and then we'll call you next.
My name is John Berg. I live at 101 Dew. I live at 101 Dew Drive. This is literally my backyard. I'll be kind of brief. I was sitting back there and I looked up at the seal of Trussville and realized that our motto is Gateway to Happy Living. The city comprehensive plan identifies this entire area that we were discussing as a gateway to the city. The comprehensive plan also identifies a major element as to enhance the image of the city's major gateways. I don't see that being the case with the proposed plan. Additionally, just as a couple of statement of facts, the list that was given to the council for the recommendations or the promises were limited beyond what the list given or proposed by the Planning and Zoning Board Committee. On the list of the committee from last month, I believe, there was a list of recommendations for qualified rezoning. On that list, it did include fast food restaurants and gas station. Just want to leave that with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Council President.
Yes, sir.
I forgot to ask you, you're the liaison.
I'm actually on the planning and zoning.
Right. My understanding is that, other than the gas station, that there was a list of C2 uses that the applicant voluntarily removed.
I'm mistaken in that? Is that a mistake? Am I mistaken?
Yeah, I think you're mistaken, I do not.
I thought I recalled that the
Were
applicant,
you at that meeting?
no, I thought I recalled you told me.
No, sir, I did not tell you that it was restricted.
Well, the applicant didn't do that? Okay.
Planning and zoning made a list.
Can I answer that question?
I'm sorry.
Yes, before we call on you, I'm gonna let him answer that question. Mr. Stovall.
The gentleman that sits down to the far right on the planning commission, whose name I don't know, Brian Dawkins, started a discussion about qualifiers for the C2 zoning. And at some point during that discussion, it was interrupted by a motion, and so the vote happened without a completion of that discussion.
Did you want to complete the discussion?
Well, what we had asked to do was, at that time, my client was out of town, so I was here representing him. That came up as a new point of discussion, and so we were having a dialogue back and forth of what I could take back to my client to have a discussion with him about what qualifiers he would be willing and wouldn't be willing to put on the property, and that's where it ended.
Okay. Are there any, I mean, are there any that you wanted to volunteer?
I don't know, I don't have that list in front of me.
Okay.
But I don't know that
But
we'd be
you are
willing to
mistaken,
discuss
there
it.
was not a list, and I did not discuss or mention that list.
Yeah, well,
Just to clear that
it's just
point
a-
up.
No, that's just a mistake. I
That's
thought
correct.
I was told that it was, but that's fine.
That's incorrect.
Hold on.
Front row. Yes, sir.
My name is William McKee, and I live in Birch Street. And I have walked my dog several mornings, and I've seen many, many times that cars cut through on Birch Street so fast, and they scoot down in front of me before I can look to see into the next lane. One thing about this property they didn't mention is fast foods. They discussed it the last month, but they need to add that fast food meeting there. And I was surprised because I remember at the time before they started the meeting with the people at the library, they didn't mention fast food places. And that's part of C2 commercial. So we talked about the gas station. Now, the second meeting this month here, the board meeting, they mentioned fast foods again, and that surprised us. And we don't have faith in this development, so we need to see some changes. Several times the background history of the developers and the background. One thing that I am seeing is that 100 available areas. We don't need to add any more commercial properties. Think about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else that has something that they'd like to say?
I just have a question. Can I ask a clarifying question? Christy Jones, 310 South Circle. I just had a clarifying question to make sure I understand. So Mr. Stovall talked about denying personal property rights. Who owns the property right now?
It's owned by the Hamilton estate.
Okay, so your client doesn't own the property right now? Is that correct?
His client owns the property.
Your client owns it. The Hamiltons is for your
The
client?
Hamiltons are not my client.
But
My client hasn't done the contract purchase.
But the Hamiltons are, the petition is in the name of the Hamilton estate. They are representing them in this bill, and the city of Trustville, who is a joint applicant.
Does that clear it up, Christie?
I think so. I just,
Okay. Okay.
just wanted to know who currently owns.
Do I give this to you?
You can leave it with us, that'd be fine, you don't have to give it to us now. That's
Okay,
it.
right.
Just leave it with us. Anybody else, for or against? Yes, sir, if you would come to the, Again, if you would be considered time.
Neil A. Shaw, 5342 Magnolia South Drive. I've got a few questions, and I'll, what I said in Planning and Zoning Committee, I'll repeat that in so many questions. Has this been evaluated? Who's leading this effort in itself? What's the potential impact? What is the estimated cost to implement it and the impact that it's going to have? How much staff time will this take to organize? And apparently it's been going on for a long time. And when could it happen? I mean, these are the questions I would actually ask the for the communities who actually live right behind it. But these are the main questions that I would ask. So that's all I have to say, and I don't think I have gotten any answers from the Planning and Zoning Committee or any kind of a discussions that we've had so far. So those are the questions.
Thank you. Can I just ask so I understand this question?
Yeah.
When you said you've asked what the cost is, are you talking about what their cost is or what our cost is?
It could be a cost from financial point of view, an environment point of view, a traffic point of view, I mean sustainability point of view.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to attempt to answer some of your questions. You're welcome to go back to your seat. I'm going to attempt to answer some of your questions. All of the things that you mentioned are certainly considered at Planning and Zoning. All those things that you mentioned are certainly considered by each member of this city council, I can assure you. And one thing I would like to I guess, kind of back up just a little bit and address that I've served with these 4 other people on the city council for 3 years now, and I can assure you that even though we may have a different opinion of what's best for the city of Trussville, we all are here for one reason, and that's for what's best for the city of Trussville. So always remember that, regardless of what is decided or what is said, we're here for the best interest of the city of Trussville. Sometimes we might not see through the same lens, but we all have the same goal at the end. So. Yes, ma'am.
Olivia Jean Neighbors, 518 Linden Street. I do stand to oppose this at this time. I knew Francis Hamilton personally, and there's a long history in my family. My question is, and I know y'all said something about it before, water treatment, sewage. What is going to happen with our water, our sewage? How is this 40 more homes coming into the sewage system going to impact Trussville?
Thank you. Yeah, and to address that question, that's something the applicant will have to address before they go before permitting and that kind of thing. We don't make decisions on the public health and the water supply.
We've got one of the best water systems around anywhere, and we have had for years. We need to protect it.
We absolutely do, and we actually had the manager of our utility board here at one of our workshops within the last month to explain all of that, the water aquifer and so forth and so on. So it's certainly something that, again, the individuals that you see here are concerned of those things, and we try to focus on that too. So thank you for saying that. Thank you for bringing it up. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So they're asking to know what to call
It's a requirement. It has to be kept.
I don't care for it.
Are you trying to get rid of us?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Hamilton. I'm at 513 Birch Street. I have a specific question for the developers, which is, if this were to go through, how long would I be looking out my back door at construction, demolition, sewer lines being put in, roads being put in, and just generally unpleasant things looking out our back doors? What kind of time frame? Are we talking years? Are we talking years of us having to deal with that? That's the question.
Thank you, ma'am. I will allow you, if you would like, Mr. Stallone, to give an estimated timeline. I am familiar enough with construction to know that can be difficult chief, but,
I would anticipate 2 years or so to get to completion. Probably 9 months of that being in design and permitting, and another year and 3 months or so for construction.
thank you. Anybody else? If not, we will close the public hearing unless there's anything up here.
Mr. President, I think Mr. Farmer wanted to address one thing before you, I don't know if that goes into the public hearing about the
I think we
fast
had asked
food
for a time
exceptions.
rebuttal.
Okay, why don't I do this? Why don't I close the public hearing? I will let you rebut.
And
Is that appropriate?
yes, but,
Parliamentarian?
yeah, but the council members, I think, still have a couple.
Exactly. We can
Okay.
answer that and say,
Well, that thing, just before you do that, this again is a question. If we close the public hearing, is this now part of the minutes for the public hearing, or does that matter? I know it'll be part of the minutes
It's
of
in
the
the
meetings. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and then we will let you rebut some of the
Okay.
things.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Just a couple of points that were made. One, I believe the first speaker said that there's not a gas station needed. I would argue that. My route to work every day takes me to Chalkville Road, down to Highway 11 to 459. There is not a convenience store on the right-hand side of my travel way in that direction. This would be the only one that would be truly convenient. Otherwise, you're making a left turn in rush hour traffic across Highway 11 twice to get into something that would be a convenience store and back out to get to Highway to 459. The question about, somebody else made a question about how unsafe it is to try to make egress from the existing Winn-Dixie, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. I believe that what we're doing here is a step in the direction of solving that issue by giving a signalized intersection for that left turn out of the Winn-Dixie and onto Highway 11 that, aside from all the traffic, the sight distance there is not good. Already addressed the time of construction. Somebody's concern about sewer and runoff obviously is a legitimate concern. It's something that we deal with on every project that we do. The city has in place ordinances and design standards. The state has in place permitting and design standards and regulatory oversight to make sure that construction best management practices are kept in place to minimize erosion. In other words, if that doesn't occur, then the developer is subject to fines and, well, imprisonment. I haven't seen that happen to anybody, but I have seen the fines happen. And so I guess, trying to wrap up what we were asking, I know that, as part of this first reading, I know that there are concerns from the council, and I know that there are, the big thing that we keep hearing from the public is, we want to park. A lot of people have said they're not going to be happy with anything that doesn't resemble some sort of park. My question to the city and maybe to the mayor is, does the city have intentions for this property? As well as I do, any piece of property is for sale, and so my client has spent quite a deal of money in this pursuit already, but I assure you that there is some place where this thing could be purchased by the city and still make sense. So, I guess, is that something that the city wants to do? And if you can't address that, it's fine. I can make that a rhetorical question if y'all don't want to address it.
It currently has not been discussed, and I've been on the council for 10 years, 8 as a council, 2.5 as a mayor. The topic has never come up in the 10 years that I've been associated with the city. We've had 2 workshops, planning projects and looking ahead and some of the things that were mentioned tonight. It has not been brought up. We have a 2040 vision team put together looking for a future that could address that. I don't know that. I don't know. But to answer your question, at this time, we have not made any plans to buy that property.
Okay.
Currently.
My second question would be to y'all that are on the council is, if you don't, in light of what we've talked about with the adjacent zonings and the the consistency of zoning along Highway 11 is, what I would like to know from you all is, so that we can take into account if it's something that sounds reasonable, is what is it that y'all think is an appropriate zoning for the property?
I think that's to be determined after tonight.
Yeah, I will answer that question as directly as I know how, is come 2 weeks and you'll find out from the vote that whether or not we
That'll
feel
tell
that
us
that's
that'll
appropriate.
tell us what you think is not appropriate.
That's correct.
Okay.
But maybe you could come with another proposal. I mean, I don't know how to answer that question.
Well, I think what I'm
exactly.
asking for is direction from the city council as to what you would like us to see in that front. I mean, I don't know how we can do that in another.
And again,
form.
I'm going to be cautious, but, really, those kind of things come more from a planning commission and not from the city council. I don't think any of us here are qualified to be city planners. But,
Okay.
I can answer it just from my standpoint. This is all personal. I'm not sure exactly what it ought to look like. I can tell you, I'm not thrilled with the current zoning. I can tell you that. R2, I just think we could end up with some houses there that wouldn't fit what we need, and that's what it is right now. So I'm not sure I can say what it should be, but it is what it is. And personally, I'm not speaking for the council, and I'm just speaking personally as a citizen of Trustful. I'm not crazy about the zoning that's there now, but that's what it is. That's where we are.
Well, and that's why we're at.
Yeah, I understand.
And say too, that with the current zoning, if it were developed as it's currently zoned, it would not generate the traffic required to get the signalization at that intersection. So that does not give us the ability to do what it is that I think everybody would like to see us do.
okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to rebut?
No, sir, thank you.
Very good, thank you. Again, I will just reiterate that by a 3-2 vote, we will be voting on this ordinance 2 weeks from tonight at the next meeting of the city council. So,
Council President.
yes, sir.
Just in a couple of closing remarks.
Okay.
We did decide, at the beginning that this was going to be, first reading of this.
Correct.
We weren't going to have an up or down vote, which means that if the applicant, this is in fairness, all of us as citizens, if the applicant desires for this to be on the agenda at the next meeting, which is, Ms. Porter?
May 14th.
May 14th at 6 o'clock here, then that item will be on the agenda. We are not, by state code, we are required to send certain notices, which Ms. Porter is in charge of doing, and she did for this meeting. When it comes for a second reading, by state code, we are not required to send those notices, so those notices won't go out. Now, having said that, we're telling you ahead of time, it could be on the agenda, and in fairness, so that you will have an opportunity to come and hear what's being said, okay? The other thing I wanted to say is, in fairness to all of our constituents, that there are legal norms and bounds that everyone has to operate within. And I don't want anyone leaving here with the impression that as council members, that we can just, I guess you would say, make it up as we go along. There are legal bounds that we are obligated to operate within, and we can't just tell a property owner, you can't have use of your property just because. There have to be reasons for that. So now, does that mean that an applicant gets everything that they want? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. But it is unfair for us to leave you with the impression that
budgets in Quad 1 and the Highway 11 project for the piping down. There's some 40 plus or minus more projects that they're working on. It's updated monthly. Water delivery is up. Using a lot of water. You watering your grass or taking more baths or whatever. We're not in a drought currently. They're updating their gas leak detection system. So they're correcting and detecting 98% of leaks and getting on those pretty quickly. You will be getting one of these in the mail in the next few days to a week. It's the Trussville Gas and Water 2019 quality report. So we have great water system cleanliness for 2018. You'll be able to get this and you can read all the charts inside of it and it'll be really confusing for you. But knowing that we do have good water. Given that, I won't carry the rest over and that concludes my report.
Very good, thank you, sir. And I will carry over most of my report. However, I will say that we have Board of Education member Dr. Steve Ward back with us. Glad to have you with us tonight. And I did attend the Board of Ed meeting yesterday afternoon. And my goodness, what a great bunch of kids. They got awards for science projects and music projects and safe school. And so, you know, we're excited about what goes on there. And if you hadn't seen some of the things that those Academy engineering students are putting out, pay attention. They're designing some things there that are absolutely amazing. There were some things that they showed last night that were phenomenal. Councilman Plant, Library, Public Safety, Historical, Chamber, and Finance.
I'm going to carry over most of the report, just going to mention just a couple of things. Our longtime serving head of or director of our Chamber of Commerce has retired, Diane Poole, and we appreciate the job that she has done over the years. If you have a chance to tell Diane personally how appreciative you are of her efforts over the years. At the Chamber luncheon last Thursday, our speaker was our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Patty Neal, for her annual address to the city concerning the state of the schools. She gave a fantastic address. Council President just touched on some of that. Our schools are the brightest point in this community. They are truly the jewel in the crown, and just cannot say enough about our schools, about what they're doing, and their dedication to serving our children and ultimately serving our community for the betterment. For public safety, I want to mention that we were at the ceremony last week with the State Attorney General. Councilman Taylor couldn't be there, he was out of town. Everybody else did get to come, and we had a presentation from our State Attorney General for safe schools for our Trussville Middle School. Chief, thank you for what you're doing. We've made a considerable investment in our school resource officer program. And just for the citizens, just so you'll know, and our superintendent is extremely appreciative of this, we are the only system in this state that has more SROs than we have school facilities, which means that we can have an SRO at every facility. So the schools are committed to the safety of our young people, and our police department is committed to the safety, and the city is committed to giving them the resources they need. And the last thing I want to say is, and I'd be very remiss if I did not say this, when we talk about public safety, he may have gotten a little older, but I still think that he could pull somebody over and take them out without taking that seatbelt off. Chief, Chief Nash is here with us tonight, and we sure are proud to have you here. And Chief kept these streets safe for many, many, many decades, and we appreciate everything that you've done for us, Chief, and his beautiful wife, Becky. Thank you so much for being here.
Very good. Thank you. Councilman Steele, IDB, Senior Citizens, Public Works, and ACTA.
Council President, I will carry over my reports except to say ACTA is having, since we've got a full room, I don't know if there are any actors in here or wannabe actors, ACTA is having auditions Monday, April 29th and Tuesday, April 30th for Brigadoon, which will be presented this summer. Please prepare 16 bars of a musical song and bring a headshot and resume if available. Councilman Taylor, they said you could leave your headshot. That concludes my report.
Face made for radio. Thank you, sir. Councilman Taylor, Public Safety, RDA, Chamber, and Finance.
I'm going to really carry mine over, and unlike all the others, I do want to say one thing, since we won't have a public hearing next time. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for the council for allowing me some time off to take a vacation. In my 40 years of working, we've never done that. I've taken a vacation, but I've never been gone for that long, and it was a great time. I really only missed one council meeting, but it feels like I've been gone for a long time. But so I appreciate them doing that and understanding that. And I want to say how much I appreciate all of you for coming. And I understand your passion about Trussville. I've been living here since 1994, and I love Trussville, and I know you do too. And Ms. Anderson said up here she appreciated how difficult this was and to make these decisions. I didn't realize that until now. I'm in my 7th year. Didn't realize that until I got on how difficult this is to do this. She probably understands it more than anybody that's never been in office because of who her father was or is, and the years he served. But, let me just say thank you. I promise you this. I feel like we've always done this. I've always done this. We have to deal with the facts. I know there's emotion, and I know when it's by your house, there's a lot of emotion. When it's by my house, there's a lot of emotion. But we got to deal with the facts, and that's why I wanted some time just to kind of sort through all the facts, because at the end of the day, Council President said it, and I agree with him. Every one of us up here wants to do what's right for Trussville at the end of the day. So, and what's right for Trussville won't be right for everybody, but we do want to do what's right for Trussville. So thank you for thank you for coming tonight and expressing your opinions about it.
Very good.
Thank you. Mayor?
Just a couple of things, just an update on Highway 11, the traffic signal at Van Road is with the state and Stone & Sons is being designed now. Mr. Epstein will be glad to know. That's the new traffic signal at Van Road. It'll be coordinated with 4 all the way up to Tutwiler. And those of you that haven't been to a city council meeting, the light at Mary Taylor was a Birmingham traffic signal. We've got them to agree to turn that signal over to us. And so we'll be running fiber all the way down from Roosevelt by Target all the way to Tutwiler to coordinate those signals a little better through there. And they're in the design phase right now, so we hope to have that working pretty soon. I do want to thank the council tonight for allowing me the opportunity to sign us up for a citizen survey, and I'm not scared of that. I don't think my department heads are scared of that. It's a learning experience for a lot of us. It will be a random scientific survey. You'll be notified shortly. It takes about 3 months to put this thing from start to finish. It's about 3 months, and this company has done this all over the country. I think it benefits us. It's a report card, so to speak, of our city and what we do, and I'm proud of where our department heads in our city are now and the things we're able to afford to do for you as far as public services, and I appreciate the council giving me that opportunity. And then last but not least, it got very little attention tonight, but for us to have now an opportunity to form our own personnel board is a big step for this city, and it's a long time coming, and those of you that have dealt with this issue as a city employee or working somewhere in this system, you understand that with this decision, as Alan just said, is what I think is best for this city moving forward. It allows us to create opportunities for not only those that are working here, but to create opportunities to fill jobs that benefit our city and our departments. And I thank the council. It was a long time coming. It started in December of 2017. Did a lot of research on this thing. We've gone as far as the Attorney General and got an opinion. We've notified Jefferson County we were considering this, and so tomorrow morning we will officially let them know that this has been approved by the council. That doesn't mean we're leaving tomorrow. There'll have to be a separation date somewhere down the road, hopefully before October 1st, which is the beginning of our fiscal year. So thank you to the council for allowing me the opportunity to do that. That concludes my report.
Very good. And I too would like to thank the audience for, number one, coming out and showing that you care about our city. And number two, the civility that was shown tonight, I personally applaud you. You did a great job. You expressed yourself, but everybody did it in a very calm and mannerly way, and I appreciate that. If there's nothing else to come before us, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yes, it's right, man. We're gonna drink tomorrow. It's your class.
So you're ready to cut the line?
Yeah.